Hi everyone, I hope you're well. Welcome to my weekend update video for the 12th of February. M0OXF isn't actually on the air, but hope you appreciate the signage, the new signage. So tonight, Friday evening, by the time you actually see this, it will already have happened, but it's the Harwell Amateur Radio Society Friday night sked this evening at 8:30, and I will be participating from home at my home QTH with the 7300 and my end-fed wire. A bit of an issue in the week. The strong winds earlier in the week, or was it actually even the end of last week? I can't remember. Anyway, a few days ago we had some strong winds and opened up the bedroom curtains, and my end-fed wire was basically draped over my G5RV, which was not good news. And I had to, in the end, I had to basically dismantle 2/3 of it and then get it back up again, which I did successfully, and it now works again, matches perfectly with an ATU on 80 meters and on top band. On my station in Abingdon, my end fed wire there, the match on top band had been drifting from about 2.8 to 1. It's never been perfect, even with an ATU, to about 5.5 to 1 last week. So anyway, over the weekend, I tried to guesstimate the actual length, and based on a quarter wave with velocity factor for top band, I chopped 6 meters off it, and then analysed it, and with my like a network analyzer, like a VNA, and it's now resonant on 80 meters at 3.9 megahertz rather than 3.7. So if you calculate the difference, that's about, it's just under 4 meters, so it looks like I might have chopped about 4 meters too much off it. So I need to put 4 meters back into it and then check the match again on 80. Because I've gone basically from about 5.5 to 1 on top band and with an ATU, and a perfect match with an ATU on 80, to 2.8 to 1 on top band and 2 to 1 on 80 meters. Both of which are okay, but I'm going to try and improve it. Don't have that problem here. It's a perfect match with the MFJ 949E down there on both bands. I think the reason for that, part of the reason, is that my antenna here is much higher than my antenna in Abingdon, and I'm pretty sure it's coupled to buildings, etc. So something for me to look at. In the meantime, we're very happy that the what looked to be a Stanag signal has now disappeared and has stayed clear from 3710. It hasn't come back since, and I spent days decoding RTTY because I think I mentioned that one of my YouTube viewers had noticed that had noticed that there'd been some kind of military, torpedo firing warning via one of the DWD Pinneberg RTTY signals. Although what's interesting is that after days of recording and decoding, I never actually saw any evidence of that at all. What I did remember was that actually navtex is actually far better for that kind of information, and for ship movements and military exercises, etc., etc. So this weekend I'm going to I'm decoding navtex just out of interest, really. I mean, the idea originally was that, well, is our military exercises in the North Sea, as it was, the reason for this Stanag signal to appear. And as I narrate this video, if you look carefully, firing of airbones, I suppose they mean airborne weapons, in zones bounded by etc., etc. So there you go. So there's literally, as I'm narrating this video, there's a military warning via navtex on 5.1, well, it's actually 518 kilohertz, but I tuned down to 517 and use upper sideband. And as some of you probably know, I use multi-PSK, which is excellent for decoding RTTY and navtex and a myriad of other modes, signal modes. Most of which I don't even know what they are. So there you go. The good thing about the signal on 518 is that it's nearly always strong enough to be decoded. Right now it's plus 13 dBs, the signal to noise, and I was under the impression that it needed to be sort of +5 to +7 as the minimum signal strength for decoding with RTTY, and I proved myself wrong last weekend as I was successfully decoding a RTTY signal with a signal strength of about +1 dB. Right now the signals on 518 is very strong. You can see the noise floor here. That's minus 120 dBm. That's a really, really excellent low noise floor. But every now and then it just pulses up and down again, and that's always been the case here. I've been really lucky with noise here in general, yeah, the noise floor is low nearly all the time. There you go, it's just done it again. But every now and then it just sort of pulses back up and then back down again. So and right now the signal, so here you go, the signal's back, is now at minus 11 dBs. Minus 13, it's fading away. Sometimes when these navtex signals fade away, it's not at all. Basically, the several countries use the same frequency. So obviously the signal for British waters, it being broadcast, from the UK, is going to be stronger, or signals closer to the UK are stronger than signals further away. So, so I think the Belgian and Dutch maritime stations transmit on this frequency, and there's various others. I thought I saw an Italian one. I could be wrong. But basically several European countries use this frequency, and so sometimes you look at the signal, it looks like it's faded away, but it actually hasn't. There you go. So right now this is Spain, so the State Met Agency of Spain. There you go, Coruna Navtex Service Area Warnings. So there you go. And it's quite interesting. RTTY is a bit boring. I actually did a couple of live feeds last week, and someone said that I usually enjoy your channel, but that was really boring. And to be fair to them, they were right. It was a bit boring, really, but you have to do these things. The information on navtex is much more interesting, and here I'm using the ELAD FDM Duo. I'm hiding the receiver underneath it, because I'm in the middle of testing it, and it's top secret. And I'm using the FDM SW2 software, which is superb, and multi-PSK, routing the audio from the software here, from the FDM SW2 software via a virtual audio cable into the multi-PSK, and that works very well indeed. Yeah, on the subject of the radio that I'm kind of in the middle of testing, to write I'm going to be writing a review in Radio User Magazine. Well, I am writing already. I've got a bit of a problem really, because this radio is really quite expensive, and although it is very, very good, there's no doubt about that, it isn't any better in a real world context. So for listening to weak signals on long wave, medium wave or short wave, than its predecessor. I think it's more expensive than its predecessor, and there are other radios available for about a quarter of the price that I think are probably going to be as good for your average real world DXer. There are other aspects of this radio which are very, very high performance, which I won't state what they are because it will give it away. But so I've got a bit of a problem really. I know that Radio User want this report to be glowing for this particular radio because they've been lent it by a supplier, and they want it to be glowing, and it will be glowing in some senses, but in other senses it won't be. So I've got a bit of a problem here, but it's not a problem because when I write, I've written a lot of articles for Radio User Magazine over the years and a lot of reviews, and you just have to be honest and just tell it how it is really, and so that's what I'll do. So mostly it'll be good, but the trouble with some of the radios on sale today is that some of them, although they're excellent, they don't represent very good value for money. They don't, the performance as a function of price is not good compared to some of the competition, like seriously not good. So and that's something that I'm going to be talking about on the review that I'm writing. So that's something else I'll be getting on with. In other news, this is the Yaesu G90, which some of you have seen, was lent to me by a fellow member of the Harwell Amateur Radio Society. Brilliant radio. And as a result of using this radio, this is 20 watts output, I've sold my Yaesu FT817, and I've sold that radio. I've sold it with the 45 watt power amplifier that I bought for it, and I've sold it with the mobile ATU that I also bought to use with it. The reason I sold the ATU was because although it's fine, I preferred my other two. I preferred my 948 and my 949E. It was just, I don't know, it was very, very small and compact, which is fine. The forward and reflective power meter was very small. Worked perfectly, but it was very, very small. You literally needed your glasses on to see where you were with it. It's basically brand new. But I sold so basically I sold everything to another member of the club as effectively a complete portable station. He's been licensed about 6 months. I think he got his amateur license, his foundation license about 6 months ago, and he wants it also for VHF and UHF. He's got some other club members who are friends in the Abingdon area where he lives, and he wants to be able to talk to them on 2 meters, etc., which obviously that radio can do. And he's got an interest in sort of getting out and about, which again, that's the perfect radio for him. So Harwell are really good, actually. We've got some stations that we lend out to people that are newly licensed, and to allow them to get some practice without having to buy anything. I'll be honest with you, the radio that we loan this guy, I think it's analog. He keeps saying that everybody sounds like a Dalek, which for those of you that don't know about Doctor Who won't make much sense, but for most of you who do will, which basically means he's never properly on frequency. Another member of the club said that this particular radio we loaned him drifts as well. So as someone who's not new into the hobby but relatively new, this radio is a waste of time, really. I don't think he's ever managed to get on air on HF. So now he's got a setup that will put out 45 watts. It'll put the radio on itself. The 817 will put out 5 watts when he's running it with a power supply. Hopefully, I'm just slurping some tea. He'll get a lot of use out of it. So, but that with the ATU that I've sold him and the power amplifier and a few other bits and pieces, he's got everything he needs. And I in return now can pay the chap the money who lent me the G90, and so at some point tomorrow I shall call him up and transfer the money to him. So which is good, and I'm quite excited actually with the G90 because 20 watts actually is a decent amount of power. We did a test actually on the Wednesday sked. I was using 98 watts. I always, on the 7300, I go to 100, just crank it down just below 100, and I cranked the power down in 20 watt increments, and then got to 10 watts, and then 5, and then even with 2 watts, everybody could sort of still hear me, sort of 5 and 5. Conditions were that good, I reckon that the guy that lives closest to me probably could have heard me on 250 milliwatts. But it just goes to show that you don't need lots of power. But on top band in the evening, when when continental stations are coming in, the Yaesu will only put out 2.5 watts running on battery, and 2.5 watts just won't cut it. And that's the reason why in the end I decided to sell that one and go for the G90. And I really like that radio actually. The G90 is a great radio. So I've got it running on battery power at the moment, but I need to do something with the power cable because it's not very long, and get this thing rigged up to a power supply, and I'll be testing that over the weekend as well. So yeah, so it's all good really. So that's about it. It's the weather's been terrible outside. It's been so cold here, and I guess it's been cold where a lot of you guys are. But that with COVID, you know, never a better opportunity than now to sit in the shack and do something on the radio. So you know, as far as I'm concerned, that the time spent indoors is time well spent, and it's interesting to you know, to particularly if you've got a new piece of equipment to test and work on, like the G90. You know, but you know, you guys know me. It's not just about ham radio. You know, I'm still a DXer. I still sort of probably too often sit up until the early hours of the morning, trying to catch tropical band signals, and as I was probably this morning. Yeah, so you know, that's how it is. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed that. So it's 73 from me, from the shack. I will be on air soon. Keep safe, everybody, and keep listening to the radio. Keep in touch. I always enjoy reading your messages via the YouTube channel, and long may it continue. So have a great weekend, and I wish you all 73. Thanks. Bye.